From professional player to coach to content creator, commentator, there's nothing this man doesn't do. He's one of the hardest working individuals in Rocket League. I welcome to the show, Lethamyr. Thank you so much for joining me, man.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course.
It's been a while since we've spoken, so it's good to hear you back.
Yeah. Well, last time we were hanging out was we were commentating. You've literally done everything.
Yeah.
It's you haven't stopped. I want to talk about that journey, man. I want to talk about your Rocket League career, basically, because you went to school for something else, and then all of a sudden you started professional playing, and then it just evolved to Rocket League. I feel like Rocket League's severely changed the trajectory of your life here. So let's walk through that. You went to school. I think it was for engineering, correct?
Yeah, so it was electrical engineering, and it's funny because I wouldn't be where I am in Rocket League without that experience too, because you learn how to learn, number one, and then number two, a lot of what I do with like making maps and stuff, because I make maps in Rocket League, is from electrical engineering, just from the courses and stuff I learned on my own. So I was transitioning, I guess, from that to Rocket League full time, around fourth year, the final years of my school. And I was juggling both at the same time, so it was pretty rough, but I'm glad I did, for sure, because it paid off. But I think it was valuable to go through school to make sure I had a good education.
It's funny because you're like, oh yeah, it was tough, it was such a lot of work, but I feel like you haven't lightened the load up for yourself at all. Like you kept at it.
It's funny that you say that, because like even when I picked up an editor, Danny, who is so invaluable to me at this point, he's so good. People were like, "Oh, now you'll be able to give yourself a break," and I'm like, "Oh, now I have 4 more hours to make maps.
Yeah, right.
to make maps during the day." So I basically just juggle whatever I can and try to get sleep where I can. I make sure to stay healthy and make sure I'm doing what I can to, not overdo it. But my days are quite long, like sometimes 12 to 16 hours. People can attest to that. I try to balance it though and take some breaks here and there.
Well, I don't want to. I do want to ask about in a bit, just kind of what the daily routine is. Obviously, not getting too deep into your personal life, but just I want to see what that kind of workflow looks for you today. But I'll ask that in a bit here. I do want to step it back here and talk about these transitions. Again, you started as a professional player. A lot of people know you in the scene. You're an OG, and you've been there for a very long time in the top play. And in all honesty, I feel like you probably could still hang up there just from watching you play still. But
who knows?
You made a transition. I remember talking to you one night when you were commentating, and you're making like, this is when you were doing a video a day. You're still a professional player. Then you went to coaching. What was the thought process to say, I want to move from professional play into these other things here? Because I feel like there was a strategy to it.
I mean, so like I started to be established as, that 1v1 player that was, moving up in the ranks in North America early on. I won a few tournaments in 1v1 against really notable players at the time. So I was getting noticed as, one of the top players in North America at the time, early 2016 and 2017. And I was like, you know what? I already knew that, like, I always think about things strategically, and I'm not saying that that's why I started YouTube. I think I just enjoy entertaining people and stuff, but I was told by many people that I should start recording videos, just, ranked gameplay. And that's what Squishy was doing back in the day too. And he started getting really noticed. So I knew it was possible to, to get somewhere with it. And people had interest in knowing how to play the game better and stuff. And I wanted to help teach people. So Floomp was actually the first person who made me record a video. He was like, you know what? He did this 1v1ing a pro series back in the day. And he said, why don't you record your side as well? So I did. And then I posted it. And, I didn't expect anything of it. Like, I didn't know how many people knew who I was and stuff. RLCS is definitely, like, huge in my start because people knew the names. They would just search it up, be like, okay, this guy's pretty good. Let's see if he has anything going on his own. So, I at the start, it was kind of just like, oh, let's just play ranked and see what happens. And then it kind of blew up from there when I started doing my maps. And I know that's, like, a whole other thing. I don't know if you want to dive into it, how I started that, but...
Yeah, I mean, I want to focus more on that the process
Transition.
of moving from different they're different skill sets. I mean, playing is different than coaching, is different than commentating, is different than creating content, is different than making maps, right? So these are obviously all different skill sets. Do you find that's a big drive to want to keep doing all these things? Because you joined me commentating not too long ago. Like, do you feel like they all have enough of a unique thing to learn that's what drives you to continue to diversify?
Yeah, I think it's just like I'm an opportunistic person, I guess is the word. Like sort of like a yes man. I don't want to say no to things just because different is, interesting, keeps me distracted, from anything, like especially right now with the whole world, in a situation like this. It's just nice to distract myself and also help other people. Like, like the grid was nice to help out when the org needed people to commentate for them. I just like to help people out and explore different options and see what I really want to enjoy out of my time in Rocket League. So the transitions for each were very different. Obviously, from pro to content creator, I was doing both at the same time, and I think that's kind of how I like to approach things. Is everything's very gradual. I don't like to full send into something. Like, I wouldn't just go, I'm gonna do content, even though like I started it off as a hobby. And I think that's very important, is that even when I started playing Rocket League professionally, it started off as a hobby that I wouldn't say I did full time. So with the intent, everything was with the intention to just do for fun. And when my interest became a talent, and that talent was, sought out by people, content-wise, that's where it kind of blew up. So from a professional player to a content creator, people were interested in what I had to say, and I liked hearing the feedback from my videos. And then when I started diving into map making, I had experience in Minecraft and also making a CSGO like competitive map, just from my interest in creative stuff. People started to get really interested, and those are the videos that did the best on my channel. And I was like, this is something that could actually become a mainstay on my channel. And then for commentating, it was really just the mind that I had for the game, or have for the game still. I like to, once again, share that knowledge in a way that I see fit. I think that I have a different way of looking at the game. Everyone says that about me too, is that I don't know if like the meta that I play is completely different, or it's just the way I think about the game. I sort of like look at it as like almost like 5D chess, honestly. Like I think too far ahead sometimes, which is part of my downfall. But yeah, so I think each transition's been really interesting, and I've definitely evolved my skill set as I go. I want to make sure I'm learning new things and improving somewhere.
Yeah, it's important not to stagnate. Now, I want to just ask, and this might be one of them you mentioned there, that gradual, just work into something, do it as a hobby. Maybe this is one of those tips, but I want to ask some tips for anybody else that is putting a large workload on themselves. They're trying a few other things here. What tips do you have? Because there's obviously a huge window of opportunity for burnout to happen here with how much you do.
Right.
How do you make sure that you manage all of this without pushing yourself over the edge? And if anybody else is going to try to do a lot of work like this, how can they also manage this?
Well, I'm kind of lucky because my job is sort of my hobby. That can't be said for everybody. So yeah, I am lucky in that aspect. So sometimes, when I need to record videos and stuff and I'm trying to get ahead, I'll do like a bunch in one day and give myself some free time. But sometimes I actually am getting work done while I'm having fun, because making maps, coming up with new ideas, because I've got 70 maps, I think, currently that I've created, which is insane to even think about. But like when I'm bored or I'm like I have an idea, I like to really dive into it, and it actually kind of like relieves my stress a little bit, because I'm getting work done but also having fun creating something new. And it's also important to give yourself free time and take some breaks here and there. I try to take some days off or line it up with Shannon, my girlfriend. She finishes work early in the day, which is a bit of a juggle, because she starts at 7 a.m. and I'm sometimes up until 2 a.m. So we try to balance it and make sure that we understand when we want to have time together and stuff, and meet with family in these troubling times too. So organizing and being ahead of schedule is definitely very, very, very helpful.
And that's another thing I didn't mention before. You're also you're not just a nerd by yourself in a basement doing it, right? You have a family, you have a significant other that you have to obviously give to and want to give time to as well. So it's balancing all that. Now I'm gonna get you to give me some tips, because I suck at managing that kind of stuff. What are some tips to be able to manage those things, to be able to make sure in a day-to-day thing, okay, today I'm going to do 3 videos, tomorrow I'm going to take time off, or tomorrow I'm going to do 1. Like, how do you get yourself on a track of management like that? Because I need that, man.
You're not going to like my answer.
Okay.
I wasn't very good at it, and I sucked at it, and it was hard. More recently, I've gotten an editor, and that pushes me to be organized, I would say.
Because for them, right?
I have to be ahead of schedule for them, so that relieves the stress of me. I guess it stresses me out sometimes that I have to be ahead, because if I start to get behind, then I'm like, oh crap, my editor needs at least a day ahead to be able to post the video for the next day. So I'm always a day ahead, which is nice. I try to stay 2 or 3 ahead. And I also recently hired my sister to do 3D modeling and texturing and stuff like that. And she also runs my Instagram, so she also helps organize that with me now. So having people to help time manage is definitely helpful.
Yeah.
When I was doing it on my own, it was a struggle at times. I'm not going to lie about that. It was hard, and sometimes I got behind, and sometimes I would edit until 3 a.m., 4 a.m. With the YouTube algorithm, you cannot skip a day once you start doing daily. And still to this date, I'm scared to do like every other day. It's definitely worth experimenting in at some point, but I think that I've got such a good flow going that it's manageable. Like I said, if you record 3 or 4 videos in one day, rest your voice for a day or two, it's not too bad. It's just more the map making that takes up most of my time. Like the Among Us map that I'm creating soon or finishing, it's been 1,200 hours between all of our partners, so it's pretty crazy.
No, that absolutely is crazy, and this is why I still don't believe you that you sucked at it. There has to be some other secret thing. So is it like waking up in the morning? Is there some sort of like secret like breakfast that you eat, or is it
no,
like you just work out when you get up? Like what? There's got to be some secret.
My brain is always fired like way too fast, and I don't know if it's like anxiety that I have or whatever, but my brain is just firing it on all cylinders all the time. So that's why I kind of go all or nothing. It's like either I'm resting or I'm just like going and going and going. If you ever watch my Twitch streams and me making a map, it's like people are like, what is he even doing? He's switching between menus and doing different things, and it's like, I just like go into like a flow state, I guess. And that helps if you're interested in what you're doing and you know what you're doing. So it took a lot of investment in time back when I was doing a pro to like take an hour or two a day just to like learn one new aspect of the program I use and stuff, and become very familiar with it and sort of make it secondhand or like second nature, just to be able to like take what you want to do and make it a reality in as short of time as possible. So become more and more efficient.
Now, how do you on the other spectrum side of things? Let's slowly start diving into the map stuff, because that obviously is the focus here of your your current career. You're still doing other stuff here and there, but you're putting out a video a day on your YouTube. You're making crazy maps that are getting attention across multiple different gaming communities, not just even Rocket League. You had your Fall Guys map. You just mentioned your Among Us map, and I bet you have a million other crazy ideas. In between that, you're also doing these cool little fun one-offs of weird gravity or stuff like this, or the no 4 maps or whatever, like crazy stuff. How do you bring it in? Like, I feel like when you get in that flow state, you can probably get to the point where feature creep can become a problem, and you're like, okay, well, I want to perfect this little thing or this model over here, and like, how do you rein yourself and say, okay, no, it's good enough, we can put it out?
Yeah, so that is a big problem, especially. But I think what helps me is that I keep 7 or 8 projects on the go. And you can basically relate it to the version of map making version of writer's block. So I'll sit with 7 or 8 projects on the go. I'm sitting in one and I'm like, I don't know what to do next. Oh, let's just jump into my wave race map and see what I want to do there, right? So like that's how I keep pumping out maps so quickly, is that I have 7 or 8 on the go, and whenever I finish one, I start thinking of a new one that I can add on to the list of current work in progress. So that's how I keep going, because when I'm in the middle of map making for like a session of like 4 to 6 hours, I want to make sure I use those 4 to 6 hours, like I said, as efficiently as possible. So if I sit in one map for 2 hours and I sit there, start staring at the screen, I'm like, well, why would I waste my time staring at the screen when I've already got other things happening in my mind where I'm like, oh, this is where I could go next with my pop shot map, which is like drop shot on the ceiling. So like I just move between maps like fluidly and make sure I have a bunch of projects on the go. So yeah, when I'm sleeping, sometimes I'm dreaming Rocket League. It's kind of scary. Like I'm in a car. I'm like, how would I move a car and a ball around in a unique way to be able to, create a new concept, basically.
He even sleeps in dreams. Custom maps. Now I want to ask that on these maps, you made some pretty extravagant maps. I mentioned a couple just a second ago with the Among Us and the Fall Guys, and you always want your newest work to be your most proud, right? Like you always want that to be your best thing. But there are maps that are kind of hold a special place in your heart, maybe 2 or 3 that in the past you still look back and be like, that was a gosh dang good map. Yeah,
I definitely have a few. Standard drop shot. Standard drop shot is definitely my favorite, just gameplay wise, and like I like to call it Rocket League ish. Like I make a lot of maps that are kind of goofy and gimmicky just for like the silly concepts. But there are some that I make with the intention of it being like as if Rocket League released it, or Rocket League could take it and put it into their game. So number 1 is Standard drop shot. I think that's a beautiful map. It uses all Rocket League assets plus a few custom models that I made. So it's completely non-licensed stuff. It's all stuff that's just from the game that I made work together, basically. So that's number one. Number two is tetherball. I think tetherball could be an amazing addition to Rocket League. It's such a cool idea that basically it's a heat seeker ball that goes around and around in a circle. And the third one, I mean, Fall Guys was gimmicky. I would say it's a little bit silly, but I've got one coming up called Capture the Flag. I wonder what that's all about. That uses Spike Rush, and basically the floor. If you want to reset your flag, you just drop the ball into the floor. The floor does not not interact with the ball at all. So if you ever drop the ball through the floor, it goes back to your station. So I think that's gonna be a really sick map. I think it could be a full mainstay in Rocket League as well. With all Rocket League assets once again. So those are my three most proud. I haven't finished that one, and I'm learning how to sculpt maps and stuff like landscapes. I think this one's gonna be a really, really sick one.
I think that's important that you're continuing to learn things as you do this as well. It's not getting stagnant. There's always something else to learn. So it's again, I think you're right. It helps that it's something that you really enjoy doing here. Now, on the opposite side of things, are there any maps that just destroyed you? That was so like this one problem you had to solve. And you're like, I can't figure this out. Eventually, maybe you did, but it just got you on the edge because you got stuck on it and it was so hard to do, or something that was just a pain.
I mean, there's a few that are in the work in progress right now, like Wave Race, that have run into quite a few issues. With Rocket League maps, multiplayer has a lot of issues. You can make a map work perfectly for yourself, but then once you run into like connectivity and stuff, there's a lot of problems. I think Prop Hunt was one of them that took a long time to get even looking remotely good, and it still doesn't look the greatest. Another one is having all the balls, all the cars be Rocket League balls instead. That one's still in the work in progress, and it's not working right now. And then Among Us was just really, really tough because there's so many models, and it had to make it like look perfectly. Like transitioning from 2D to 3D was a challenge in its own.
Now, I want to give a shout because I think there are other people making these maps too. It's it's not just you. There's other people out there doing this, and maybe someone wants to jump in and start making them too. What's the best way for someone to start those creative juices flowing, get into map making, if they kind of want to experiment with some of their own maps and ideas?
So yeah, there was an early tutorial series back in 2016 of how to make maps and stuff, and that's what I used. And the rest of it is really just a learning experience. You can kind of relate to map making to a fine art, basically. People have been asking for a long time for me to do a tutorial series, but I've really been hesitant to do so because it's one of those things that are so second nature to me that I'll miss so many details because it just brushes past me and stuff. And I do a lot of shortcuts to make map making faster that I don't think I could explain to somebody like very clearly. So I mean, it's sort of just got to dive in and mess with the settings and go through and see what affects what. And it's a lot of saving, loading into into Rocket League, testing it, and then trying it again if it doesn't work. So it's trial and error for thousands of hours. Yeah, that's crazy.
Okay, so then someone's like, that's way too much. I'm just gonna see if Lethamyr will do it. I see some people tweet out to you, and I know you do actually look at a lot of the suggestions and stuff. Is there any way that someone, if they wanted to, they have the sick idea, can reach out to you, just tweet at you or something like that? Or are you overlogged right now?
I mean, I'm quite overlogged. I have a notepad, like a notepad on the computer of over 100 ideas that I haven't even tackled yet. So I just add to the list whenever I have an idea, but. I do have a map ideas section on my Discord, and you can find my Discord pretty much everywhere. It's on my Twitter, on my YouTube, on my Instagram, all that stuff. So pretty easy to find. But yeah, I do look at those once in a while just to see if there's anything unique. But a lot of them are just videos. They're just suggestions of maps I've already done. They didn't even know existed. So they're just like, oh, I just make so many of them. They just don't even know there's a video that actually has to do with that idea already. But I do look at them. I try to keep to myself to make sure that they're unique, original ideas that I think of, and I have enough on my plate that I don't think I need to look at those quite yet. But yeah, definitely there are some suggestion areas for me, so it's kind of cool to have the community's input.
Well, you kind of transitioned me into it. I don't even know if I need to do this. I want to find out where can people catch your content. You mentioned Twitter and YouTube and that, but I feel like they don't need it. Like most people in game now say, hey, I know you from one of those Lethamyr vids. It's the other way around right now. I need to plug my socials.
There you go. Yeah, that's funny.
But where can people find you if they're looking to look at some of these sick maps you make?
Yeah, so I'm on YouTube at Lethamyr, like it's my channel, Lethamyr, and then on Twitch I also stream map making live or high level gameplay, top 100, top 10, at Lethamyr_RL. Otherwise, I'm on TikTok now. I mean, I begrudgingly say that, but you know, I gotta spread out to all the social media and all that stuff. But yeah, anything Lethamyr, you basically find me. It's a pretty unique name, so it's kind of hard to miss.
The man never sleeps, and even when he does, he's dreaming of Rocket League. Lethamyr, thank you so much for joining me. It was great talking to you, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. It's been fun.